Hello. Welcome to Remaking Medicine. My name is Emily F. Peters, and we are here to talk about bold, creative, different ideas about how we improve our healthcare system in the future. And I am here today with Chris Appleton to talk about art pharmacy and the world of social prescribing and expanding our definition of what kinds of good we want to prescribe to patients. So Chris, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
We're glad to be here. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, so tell us about art pharmacy and the program. I want to hear all about it, and then I want to get into the weeds of how you grow and scale and make this kind of more mainstream healthcare.
Wonderful. So I have the privilege of leading Art Pharmacy as the CEO. We are an Atlanta-based social prescribing organization that works at the intersection of the arts and healthcare. We work with health systems, managed care health plans, universities, federally qualified community health clinics, big academic medical centers, all trying to improve individual health through non-clinical community-based supports. Social prescribing is this practice that emerged in the UK about 3 decades ago, through which healthcare providers prescribe non-clinical activities for their patients. And we sit in between those prescribing partners, community-based organizations, and the individual or patient that we serve. We work across the age span with a real big focus on adolescents and young adults with anxiety and depression disorders, and then the older adult population with challenges related to social isolation, loneliness, and chronic illness.
That is so cool. And how long ago did you start? And tell us kind of like what's the scale today?
We started in 2022, so we've been at it for about 3 years, and we are currently have partnerships in 7 states. So we've got a couple of partnerships in the South, working here in Georgia, where we're headquartered, in Atlanta, and then partnerships in the Northeast, and then some partnerships out West.
And you come to this from more of an arts humanities background first. You didn't come to this as a healthcare executive necessarily, right? This is how this idea emerged.
That's right. Yeah, outsider innovation. That's right. I spent my career building and leading organizations that incorporated arts and culture into other parts of civic life. And in 2019 was introduced to this arts and medicine field. Came to learn that there were centers for arts and health and arts and medicine at Harvard and Duke and Johns Hopkins and UCLA and the World Health Organization and University of Florida, and really across the globe. Scientists have been studying the role of arts in their impact on our health and well-being for a long time. Of course, there's nothing new. Like, artists have been healers since the beginning of humankind. But learning about this evidence base that exists, I thought, so why hasn't U.S. healthcare bought this? Especially kind of, sort of coming through the pandemic, so much demand for mental health services, not enough providers. They're wonderful that there's a destigmatization around mental health and more help seeking, which is great. There's obviously still progress to be made there, but we can't train and hire our way out of it from a provider standpoint. We hear about these ghost networks, health plans, right? This is a real challenge, and we got to think about getting a new kind of supply into the ecosystem. And here in most every community across the country and across the globe, this arts, culture, creativity exists and is readily available for people to tap into, for individuals to tap into, and for healthcare to tap into.
And you make this sound like such an obvious thing, which in some ways it really, really is. Like you said, art and medicine have been connected as long as there have been humans. But it's also very much like a taboo. There's a lot of taboos around how we pay for art, bringing art into healthcare when it's not seen as a traditional part of like sort of the STEM scientific world of medicine and prescribing. I have to admit for myself, I have often been very skeptical of trying to bring in more social programs into medicine because we're not a particularly efficient system always, right, for getting people services and getting people paid. So I would imagine that would have been a huge hurdle when you were first starting out. Do you think, did you just have this crystal clear vision? Was there an element of that classic startup kind of hubris of like, how hard could it be?
Well, I think we did not underestimate how hard it would be. Right? I mean, we're talking U.S. healthcare here, not easy. It's different doing this in the United States versus doing this in a place like the UK or Canada, where there's that sort of single payer, and there's more incentive around prevention and early intervention. Yeah, it's certainly complicated here. What I would say is that the challenges really rely in the operationalization of it, and the making sure that individuals are getting connected to evidence-based and evidence-informed interventions. And that's what we have, that's what we've been focused on in our pharmacy, making it easy for healthcare providers to do what they already know how to do, not asking them to do too much more, which is, I'm going to order a referral to a support, like they know how to do that. They do that every day. And arts and culture organizations are, providing these kinds of supports every day as well, and not asking them to do too much more. And we sort of take on the burden of the integration.
And who's more eager to get started? I mean, I would imagine on all sides there's a lot of energy for this, but is it harder to convince sometimes the community health programs to get involved, or to convince the big healthcare systems and the big payers to get involved?
The least work that we have to do is with the individuals, right? Like healthcare consumers want this. Say, hey, maybe rather than traditional therapy, like maybe this is a place for me to start, or in addition to more traditional treatments, this is a place for me to start. And that part is not, we can't keep up with sort of consumer demand, if you will. The second easiest part is the prescribing partners. These are the individual healthcare providers that prescribe participation in arts and culture for their patients. They want to, they're already doing this informally, right? Like we hear all the time, discovery calls that I made to a family physician that serves mostly older adults, and, said, hey, what do you think about this? And do your patients need access to this? How would this, integrate into your care at this, family practice center? And he said, oh, Chris, I do this already. Not under this name, but every patient that comes in here that is struggling with mental health concerns, loneliness, mobility, I'm saying, get out, join a social club, be physically active, be involved in your community. Already encouraging people to do that. They just need it. The providers need the tools to do so, because they don't know what's happening on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. in that person's community and what the right fit is for that individual. It's not hard on the arts and culture side, as you can imagine, right? There's artists and cultural organizations already doing this work. And with the payers, we, at individuals within the payers, get it. I got a note from a big national payer just about an hour ago that said, how much we love this program. There's regulation, there's bureaucracy, there's systems, there are all sorts of blockers to scaling this kind of work, but we're seeing some success here in the first couple of years.
Yeah, and you said you're in 7 states now.
That's right.
Mostly in the South, around where you are in Georgia, or all across the U.S.?
Well, all across the U.S. So a couple here in the South. We're in 3 states in the Northeast, and then a couple out west.
So let's talk about that scalability question, because that's the stage of growth that you're in here, right? You're sort of out of the valley of despair in our classic startup life cycle. You're on to becoming more mainstream. What's the challenge at this point? What's the new and different problems that you're facing?
It's certainly education and awareness, right? Continues to be a challenge. I joke with our team all the time that maybe 0 health plan executives in the United States woke up this morning thinking, I need to buy art prescriptions. The education and awareness, piece is real, which is really about boots on the ground and getting out in front of folks. And once we connect with people, they say, oh, round peg, round hole, like totally get it. Totally makes sense. But that's the first piece. And then the second piece, and I think this is sort of important for the growing social prescribing movement in the United States, is sort of like, who's it for, right? I give the analog to what we're doing to the exercise as medicine movement. There's a wonderful organization I'm sure most of the folks in the audience are familiar with, called Silver Sneakers, that emerged 30 years ago or so. And prior to Silver Sneakers, we weren't all sitting around saying, we know that our health is connected to our physical activity level, right? We didn't know, my grandparents didn't know that. But today, that's 2025, that's a silly thing to say, that your health is connected to your physical activity level. We all know that so obviously. And Silver Sneakers, national network of fitness programs, activity programs for older adults that, the biggest payers in the world, have adopted, or now, competitors to Silver Sneakers. And so, the work happens locally, right? Like we believe, like, healthcare is local. We believe that the importance of in-person care is really critical to supporting people's mental health and social connectedness and sense of belonging, which are huge drivers of cost and healthcare utilization if they're not addressed. And so, the work happens locally, but you have to have a national infrastructure to be able to make it happen.
Yeah. And so even if I am that one health plan CEO who wakes up and says, hey, we need arts, it's just going to take some time for you guys to set up that community, that marketplace of providers in the community who provide those arts. How does that go? Is it a matter of weeks? Is that months to develop that relationship with the community?
I think we've got thousands of partners already across the country, beyond just the 7 states where we're working now. I think we have arts and culture partners in maybe 31 or 32 different states. So it goes pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine if you come and say, hey, we have a way for you to be a more financially stable organization providing arts to the community, that's not a hard sell necessarily. That's so great. And so tell me about, in this next year, are you looking to, you mentioned kind of like, who is it for? Do you think the opportunity is biggest with the younger audiences? We know that there's this, mental health challenge coming with our younger population, or is it more with our silver tsunami of boomers who are facing loneliness and, needing to be more engaged in their communities? Where are you most excited?
Those are the 2 age groups that we have been focused on. We serve across the age span, but really have been focused on adolescents and young adults, 12 to 26, and the older adult population. Young people struggling with depression and anxiety. Also want to say, a big part of our market is higher education partners. We work with universities to support student mental health. The number one concern amongst our college and university members is loneliness. And that's just heartbreaking to me, right? When you're 20 years old, in college, living in dorms or apartments, and, in class with other people, right? Like, loneliness shouldn't be the biggest, challenge in your life, but that's just what we hear consistently with folks. And so, issues of loneliness and isolation are not exclusive to the older adult population. But that's where the science is, right? So maybe the other piece about art pharmacy that I haven't mentioned is the role that technology plays in the scalability of our work. And we have National Institutes of Health funded, think of it as a recommendation engine that matches a unique member profile based on their clinical needs, social needs, access barriers, goals, cultural identity, experience engaging in arts, culture, creativity, right? You sort of a unique member profile on one end of the system, and then these tens of thousands of arts and culture engagements in our platform available to our members in just the next several weeks, that then are filtered through the published science that says, group dance is really good for adolescent girls with social disorder, or shared music experience is really great for older adults that are lonely, and these recommendations to the members to make sure that we're meeting people where they are, and that individuals have agency and choice in getting to the right activity for them.
Yeah. And so that's actually was my next question, is what are we talking about when we say arts? Because there's, physically drawing or being in a ceramics class, but you're talking about dance, writing programs, music. What other kinds of things are in the database? Right.
We think about it across artistic genres or disciplines. So it's music, visual arts, theater, dance, textile arts, creative writing, more traditional cultural experiences. Both in person and virtual, overwhelmingly in person, but virtual engagements are available for individuals that are homebound or otherwise out in the community for one reason or another. It's classes and workshops and guided tours and theater perform, right? All this sort of stuff. And then maybe the most important domain that we consider is the participation mode, whether it's a receptive experience, right? You're sitting in the audience at the theater, or a more participatory, active experience. You're in that pottery workshop, you're in the painting class, and then individual activities versus group activities, and having that big matrix, all those different types of genres and disciplines, all the different types of activities, the ways that people participate is so crucial to meeting people where they are, and to really making that sort of smart match. And you have to take patient safety into consideration. So we don't want to send somebody that's struggling with alcohol use disorder to a venue or to a program where alcohol is present, or somebody that's epileptic to a theater performance with flashing lights. And so all that gets coded into to make sure that we're really getting highly personalized community medicine to people. And I think that this is what we should be demanding of our as consumers. We should be demanding of our the mental health services that we receive or have access to, as well as the social health services that we receive and have access to. We've gotten good or better at personalized or even precision medicine for our physical health, right? Like you think about cancer treatment, like we're going to get the right treatment for this person. And there's so much attention, provided to that. But for the mental health, or, even worse, kind of the social health services that we receive access to, you get discharged from the hospital and it's like, here's a piece of paper with, resources on it. Good luck, and like, that is not the way you sort of speak to the, we have this, inefficient, expensive system. Well, maybe the reason is that we're not smart enough about the way that we support people's social health.
Yeah. And how do you guys work to close the loop? Because I imagine a lot of sort of the organic style of social prescribing, the doctor doesn't know necessarily if somebody picked up that prescription, if they followed through on it, what the outcomes might have been. Is that an emerging part of the business? Is that something you've always had built in?
It's built in from day one, and we knew that was going to be essential, right? Again, getting to this, my sort of joke about no health plan executive in America woke up this morning to buy arts prescriptions. Like, we knew that what we were doing to many to most was sort of different, was lots of barriers to overcome, and one of the ways of overcoming those barriers is really about measurement and reporting with our healthcare partners. So we track well-being, loneliness, depression, and anxiety using validated measures at baseline and every single month on our members. The standard care plan that a member gets is 12 doses of arts and culture. And so over a 12-month period. And so we're measuring well-being, loneliness, depression, and anxiety every single month, and sending that data back to the prescribing partner. So it is truly a closed loop referral.
I love it. I love how personalized and really, personalized to the individual patient and to their needs that the program is. Given that, though, are there some surprising arts programs that have had really incredible outcomes that you maybe, are extra delighted in when you see those results come back in?
I'm always delighted, regardless of what the program is, or who our partners are that are providing them. We get the question a lot of, what's the right art activity? Is it music? Yeah. Is it the theater? Or is it visual arts? Are they group activities or individual activities? And the answer, it really depends. It depends on the population. It depends on what health concern that individual has. And it depends on their experience engaging with these types of programs and services. So I love that. Like, I love that it depends. It's very unsatisfactory to most.
There's not some magical puppetry theater in Colorado that's like just blowing everyone else out of the water. It's really diverse.
Well, that's right. And maybe to compare it to, pharmaceuticals, right? Or, let's say SSRIs or antidepressants. It's like, is there one SSRI antidepressant that is like the right antidepressant or the right anti-anxiety medication? It's like, no, it depends on the patient.
Yeah, a little bit more specific, but at the same time, like you said, scalability being a huge challenge and also asset here, because, one doctor, one community arts program at a time is going to be a very challenging way to get people the kind of care that they need, social care that they need. Well, we are almost at time, which is wild. It has gone so fast. But I'd love to hear about some of your favorite things that you're reading or engaging in or that are inspiring you right now. And then we'll talk about where people can learn more about your program.
Right now, I am really enjoying cooking. It is a great way to have a beginning and an end to to a project when building a company certainly does not go that way. So cooking and gathering with friends over food is something that I am enjoying right now. When talking about arts and health or arts and medicine, I always have to lift up the incredible book by Susan Mag-Salmon and Ivy Ross, which is now about a year old. I can't believe it's been out that long, but Your Brain on Art, which is a book on neuroaesthetics, and Susan, Ivy Ross is at Google, and Susan leads the Arts and Minds Lab at Johns Hopkins. And they have really been a catalyst for the arts and health or neuroaesthetics field here over the last year and a half. They just launched this, my goodness, maybe just at the end of May, launched the NeuroArts Resource Center, which is an incredible resource for individuals that are interested in the practice of neuroarts, in the research about neuroarts, in partnership and collaboration opportunities. It's a great resource.
Oh, wonderful. And so how can people get involved if they are a patient or there's somebody in a health plan or overseeing a group of prescribing clinicians? How can people learn more?
Yeah, people can go to artpharmacy.co, contact us on our website, follow us on LinkedIn for individuals that are on follow us on social media to keep up with the latest with Art Pharmacy, but yeah, reach out, be in touch, sign up for our newsletter. We are looking for partnership opportunities and always looking to learn from others that are thinking about this kind of work and how to innovate in U.S. healthcare and improve outcomes for individuals and communities and systems all at the same time.
It is so inspiring what you've been able to do, working with the existing community structures that you mentioned, but being able to bring that into the healthcare systems, the financial systems, reimbursement systems, which are often so daunting. And so I think, like I said, you keep making it sound really easy, but it's definitely not an easy thing that you've been able to do here. And I hope, like you said as well, like with the mainstream adoption of exercise as part of the healthcare prescription toolkit, that this is the start of arts really being incorporated into that toolkit as well. And so I hope we get to connect a year from now and you can say you're in 45 states and things are going gangbusters and they're just really growing, because I think that, like you said, there is so much appetite for these programs. So any final words as we wrap up and get back to work?
No, I hope that some version of that is true as well, Emily, and just thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you.